Today I'm going to show you how to draw using what I like to call paper scrap method. Now, when you have a reference photo, such as this one that I took at the zoo of a rhino, you might look at it and think that it looks really intimidating. As you look at the picture, you might not know where to start, and you might think, I can't draw that. Well, if you isolate the shapes, then it becomes a lot easier. So that's where the paper scraps come in. What I like to do is I like to have it handy and set it on top of the reference, because drawing this is intimidating, but you might feel differently about this. Now we can see, okay, this is a triangle. This is a square. This is an oval. It becomes a lot less intimidating, and you'll be able to think, I can do this. Now, one thing with the paper scrap method is before you start drawing, it's always a good idea to kind of plan out where you want your drawing to be, so you can figure out how the proportions are. So the proportions, what that just means is how everything is in relation to each other. So how the head might compare to the legs, for example. I want to make sure that I have room on my paper, so I'm just going to draw just like a little blob right there. So now that I have that on there, I can start isolating the shapes. And I know that this part of the blob is where the head was, so I'm going to start drawing it in that section. I'm going to put my paper above it right there again, and I'm going to isolate the shapes. So again, I can draw this. You can draw this. It's just a matter of isolating the shape. So you can even go further and move the paper as needed. I see a shadow there. Let's see, what is that? That's kind of like a rectangle. And if you make it into easier to draw shapes that you can handle, then you'll have a lot more success. Okay, so how do I draw that? Okay, that line goes down here. Starting to draw that on there. Now next, I'm gonna work on the eyes. So I'm seeing some ovals and then another oval for the eye. I guess that's more the eyelid of the rhino. And again, isolating those shapes. Later I can add in my fancy shading if I want. Okay, drawing that eye in. And this is something that is a matter of practice. The more you draw, the more you practice drawing things from a reference photo, the easier that this will become. You might even get to a point where you don't even really need the paper scraps, but having the paper scraps around can be pretty helpful if you feel that you're running into some problems and you just don't know how to draw a certain shape. If you simplify the shape and just kind of isolate it, then it becomes easier. All right, so I can see that ear kind of coming out right there. So that's what I'm kind of doing. So in my head, the paper is still there. I'm just focusing on those little shapes. Okay. But again, if you look at this and you're still intimidated, okay, now that I see there is this lump right there, and then I might isolate it and see another lump. You can set this paper on there, and then it becomes like hills. So these hills kind of are going up, 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 and down. And again, it's not perfectly fitting in that potato shape that I drew, but that's okay. I just kind of drew that to make sure that I had enough room on my paper, and I do. So isolating the shapes again. Let's go ahead and do this little leg at the front. Lots of rectangles. Later, you can come in with shading. You can use lines to make it look more 3D and to show more, turn those shapes into forms, which are 3D shapes. And again, using lines and value can really help to create that illusion of 3D. Those little toes. Cute. I don't know how many people describe rhinos as cute, but I just did. Again, you can draw. Oh, look at that lovely little belly. Maybe not little. That's okay. The shapes of there's a big oval. And then I can kind of look, zoom in, zoom out, do what you need. If it's a photo you took and it's printed already, then you might just have to look closer. Toesies. Strutting that leg forward, looking good. Okay, and then this leg is going to be coming back. Then I'm going to actually start to use some shading now. Oh wait, gotta get that little tail. Now I can start with the shading, so you can see that little tail coming out. In my reference photo, I can't really see the tail very well. Now, if you wanted to, you could look up a different picture of a rhino and you could take bits and pieces from the reference photo. Today, I'm gonna try to make it look more like the reference photo that I chose and try to copy it more exact. But if I were to just draw a rhino just because I wanted to draw one, I might want to do that. Now, right now, what I'm kind of doing is I'm just kind of isolating these little shapes of light in my head. So seeing how those are, there's a bunch of like circles. So I'm drawing that on there and it makes it look like that sun kind of coming through that dappled light. It's really pretty how it hits. I know. So that dappled light is coming from the trees. So the shade is all right here, and we can see where the sun is hitting in between the leaves is creating those little blobby light effects on the rhino. And that's something that you might not have gotten on a different reference photo. It just kind of depends on what you're doing. Mine was one that I took, so I kind of have that benefit of having something like dappled light in there because I liked it, and I took the photo because I saw it and I liked it. I always like to collect my own different reference photos whenever I'm drawing anything, really. Like if I see a duck in a pond and it's up close, I'll whip out my phone and take a quick snapshot of it. And then later, if I ever have the desire to draw a duck, I have that waiting for me. Next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to use shading to kind of make the form. So I'm going to have it follow the form of what's already there. So instead of like a straight line, I'm going to have lines curve with the shape to try to make it turn it into a shape, which is 2D, to a form, which is 3D. Alright, and then for this step, I'm going to adjust some things, maybe move this eye down, and do some quick little adjustments just to finish up this drawing. So I'll turn on the time lapse.